This video is based on letters from the Mothers of Nenjamparambu to the Supreme Court drafted by M.A. Rahman. It is prescribed for third semester English Common Course under the University of Calicut. M.A. Rahman is a documentary director, social activist and writer hailing from Kasaragod district in Kerala. His works are known for their intense link with nature and the realities imprinted in his surroundings. His major documentaries are Bashir the Man, Wayanadu Kulavan, Endosulfan, A Paradise for Dying, etc. He was awarded Odakural Prize in 2016 for his Oro Jeevanum Vilapettadanu. He was the winner of the National Award for the Best Biographical Documentary in 1988 for Bashir the Man. A Paradise for Dying is a documentary on pesticide atrocity at Kasaragod district in Kerala. His other works include Bashir Kalam Desham and Bashir Bhupatangal. His works as part of the movement against endosulfan was able to bring this issue to the public discussions. Being a resident of Kasaragod, M.A. Rahman witnessed the trauma experienced by the victims as they were struck by this poisonous pesticide. Endosulfan, as we all know, is a chemical notorious for its acute toxicity, and it becomes a silent killer even after so many years of being stopped by the authorities. Now let's look at how it becomes a silent killer. This pesticide has been banned globally in 80 countries and is classified as Category 2 moderately hazardous chemical by the World Health Organization. In India, the Industrial and Toxicological Research Center, that is ITRC, has also categorized it as an extremely hazardous chemical. In a convention on persistent organic pollutants at Stockholm on 30th April 2012, almost 127 countries agreed to ban endosulfan. Unfortunately, India objected this proposal so as not to have an adverse impact in the agricultural sector. Finally, when India too agreed to cease the use of endosulfan in a phased manner, it had its dangerous hold over the life of both the living and that of the future generations to come. The letters drafted by M.A. Rahman, known as Letters from Mothers, is translated to English by B.V. Lasita. These letters were signed by 10 mothers in Nenjamparambu of Karadukka Panchayat in Kasaragod. As the Plantation Corporation of Kerala aerially sprayed endosulfan on its cashew plantations for about 20 years, it did take away the lives of thousands of people in this district. And this letter was submitted to the Supreme Court along with the photographs of the victims, and this Supreme Court verdict was based on this letter on 17th January 2017. This letter was also submitted by Vandana Shiva along with a writ petition. Now, the background to the letter takes us to the death ground of endosulfan, where thousands of people were affected, and the chronic illness and horrible death of children of this rural village in Kasaragod district never came under the purview of the national media, as they all belonged to the marginalized communities. The polluted water and soil made it impossible for people to live in this area. They were not even given any assistance from the part of the government. the birth of malformed children even after the corporation stopped the spraying of the pesticide shows that it had a far reaching impact on the generations to come. Endosulfan was banned in 2005 after the center issued a gazette notification withholding the use of endosulfan in the state on the basis of the reports of the National Institute of Occupational Health and other committees. Now let's move on to the text. In the beginning itself, the author says that this affidavit is submitted on the behalf of tens of thousands of victims. It's not an exaggerated one, but that is the reality faced by more than thousands with untimely deaths in the past 2 decades. Then he refers to one newspaper article published in Madhubhumi on May 9, 2011. It talks about a newborn infant who died because of endosulfan, and the title reads like this: Newborn infant of endosulfan inflicted family dies. It is about the child born to Mamta and Narayan of Adur in Kaithodu. This child did not have eyes. You look at the tragic birth of a child without eyes who died prematurely at Kasaragod General Hospital. Naveen and Nagesh, the other children of the same couple, are also affected by this poison. And then, in her third delivery, Mamta gave birth to twins and they both died. So you look at the plight of this mother. So along with this affidavit is a photograph of the corpse, or the corpse of the eyeless child is enclosed. You should all realize that his eyes were not closed, but they were gouged out. His eyes were brutally taken away by endosulfan. This photograph was taken by Shafi Teruvat without the permission of the hospital authorities. It is unfortunate that this child is not in the list of victims of endosulfan, not even the twins who died by birth. Naveen, who survived with crippled legs, who is also blind, gets a pension of Rs 2,000 every month, and this is the only evidence that shows that the family is affected by endosulfan. And this mother, you look at this mother who laments, the government took away the eyes of my child. They inflated his head and enlarged his neck with poison. The skin on his body has been peeled away by endosulfan poison. I will bear no more children. Can you blame her for taking such a kind of decision? No. So through this letter, Rahman is trying to talk to us about the tragedy of this Mothers in Nenjamparambu. And this is a statement echoed by all the mothers of Nenjamparambu. They are afraid of bearing children. They fear the child may have a swollen face. They don't fear abortions, in fact. They fear conceptions. And the MTP Act, or the medical termination of pregnancy, is a great relief to these mothers. And he asks, which mother would love to deliver a limbless torso in place of a baby? Yes, malformed children continue to be born in this place. And this is a question raised by the mother to the entire humanity. It's not of a single mother. It shares the plight of almost all the mothers of this place. And then another question arises. Endosulfan spraying was stopped in 2000, yet malformed children continue to be born even after 10 years. Why? Had our health department been vigilant, at least they could have studied about the multiple deaths in these families. But the abnormalities of such diseases were never studied, and it never opened up discussions. The criminal negligence of the health ministry caused the children of an entire area to be born without organs, without limbs, with swollen faces. So the letter says that it is this fear of this negligence that they want the court to consider in the seat of justice. In 2000, when court temporarily banned the use of endosulfan, it was buried near a place in Nenjamparambu without any adequate security measures. Achudan Maniyani says, when endosulfan was banned, the excess pesticide which remained was buried in Nenjamparambu. A laborer named Subbaya Maniyani buried it, and he is dead now. So, and this is in fact shown in the documentary A Paradise for the Dying by Rahman. And we can see that when they went to shoot this documentary, and when they went to Subbaya Maniyani's house with their filming equipments, the plantation laborers in fact stopped them, and they even threatened to chop the legs of these people if they ventured again to step ahead. And all these scenes are part of the visuals of that documentary. And Achudan Maniyani's single revelation is a proof that endosulfan was buried in Nenjamparambu. And this explains why such malformed children are still born there. And it is because of the residue of endosulfan and what else. Now, what is the impact of this residue which is present there? Adur Estate of Kerala Plantation Corporation is at Minnipadavu, and Nenjamparambu lies at the heart of Minnipadavu mountain, and this is near the banks of Paisuni river. Here you can find that is near this, not far from this Nenjamparambu, you have two man-made tunnels, which is in fact called as Surangam in Kannada, or it refers to an underground tunnel. The organic farmers laid out this natural pond in order to preserve the virginity of the soil. The water that accumulates in these channels quenches the thirst of the villages in the valley during the summer season. And what happened is, when endosulfan was buried between the tanks in which it was mixed and these underground tunnels, it was mixed with the natural water, and that water, when it flowed to Belur and Kaithod, what happened is this poison was taken with this water to these places. Now, let us look at the story of Kaithod. Some years back, one of the streams of this hill was diverted to a village in the valley through the hard work of an organic farmer, Muhammad Shah. He lived on the side of the hill and dug tunnels, and with his own spade, he diverted a stream to the village down below. And Kaithod, as you know, is a name which suggests a stream made by one's own hand. Muhammad Shah's daughter Hajra lived on the banks of this stream, and now you can find Hajra's children were born as endosulfan victims. And one of Hajra's daughter is Umebacharya, a child with abnormally enlarged head, and she passed away in July 2012. And the stream which her father had transformed into a blessing for this whole village entered this home of Hajra as a curse. So this is the story of almost all the families in Nenjamparambu, and we can't wonder why the mothers take such decisions, such harsh and there is such decisions that they won't bear children anymore. Now, if it comes to the question, who was responsible? We can say that it is the plantation corporation, it is the agricultural scientists, Central Agricultural Department, even the manufacturers of endosulfan. All these people are responsible for this tragedy of Nenjamparambu. And studies were made by ICMR, KSCSTE, and all those different institutions. And but none of them did in fact stand for the victims. The Kerala State Council for Science, Technology and Environment, that is KSCSTE, conducted a study to measure endosulfan levels in the water and soil in the area and discovered the endosulfan particles in Nenjamparambu. The lifespan of alpha endosulfan is 88 days, while that of the beta endosulfan is 40 days. The presence of endosulfan in the soil, even after 10 years of stopping the aerial spraying, shocked these scientists. Kamalakshan Kokal, the deputy director of KSCSTE, who conducted this study, says, since it remains in the soil of Nenjamparambu even after so much time has elapsed, there is every possibility of it having contaminated the food chain. From plants, it must have entered vegetables and fruits, then animals, then the human body, and wreaked havoc. So now you can find this moving on like a chain, and this is how this particles, the endosulfan particles, entered the human body and transferred and got transferred from generations to generations. And as the plantation corporation is spread over 11 panchayats, it's very difficult to control this chain. The NIOH study of 2002 has unequivocally proved that these diseases are caused by endosulfan. NIOH is the National Institute of Occupational Health, and it was a 92-page report which was suppressed when the Central Agricultural Department furnished this report and without blaming the plantation corporation. The activists also suggest that if the government had taken the initiative to conduct autopsy of the victims who are dying day by day and undertaken any kind of legal measure to ascertain the levels of endosulfan in the fat accumulated in the internal organs of the victims, matters would have become easier and also more scientific. And the negligence of the Central Agricultural Department, in fact, raised their sufferings. And now you can see that the pesticide deposits and deaths are what in fact they are afraid of. The people in Nenjamparambu are afraid of. And along with all these things, you can find a shocking contradiction. That is what this letter says. That is, the Central University was allotted 300 acres of land in Peria by the government of Kerala. And now they are asking, these mothers are asking, how can you do this when you know all these things about the endosulfan tragedy? Or how can you bring such a kind of institution into this particular place? And after discussing all these issues, these mothers conclude this letter by talking about their firm conviction that these reasons are enough for endosulfan to be banned. We submit before the Supreme Court this affidavit on behalf of the infants of Nenjamparambu. So this is for the infants of Nenjamparambu. It is for the future generations of Nenjamparambu. If it goes on like this, it would be impossible for people to live in Nenjamparambu. That is how they end this letter. Thank you.